Oh yeah, mixed martial arts, UFC preview show starts now.
Wow, Casey the Robot leads us in because for the first time ever, the UFC is in the City of Lights, the City of Love, the fashion capital of the world, as UFC Paris is set to go down tomorrow. A historic event for the promotion, one that has a high-stakes main event in the heavyweight division. Thank you for joining us. Let us welcome you to our live UFC Paris preview show on MMAfighting.com. Early start time for the card means early start time for the preview show. I am Mike Heck, joined by the sleep-deprived, the man's man, Prince of Positivity, Alexander K. Lee.
Hello. Hello,
Mr.
my best friend.
Gray. Hello, my best friend.
Hello, my best friend. Yes, if anyone was up getting live updates from MMAfighting.com on the UFC Paris official weigh-ins,
Great website.
Great website. It was your boy up at 3 in the morning Eastern time, bringing you those updates, and with pleasure. I do not say this to get gratitude or praise. I enjoyed it. It was a great way to spend an evening/morning, and I'm revitalized by Casey's robot-like intro, shades of a Daft Punk, which I think is very appropriate for UFC Paris.
Wow, that's very well done, AK. Very well done. Let us say hello to a man who is very well rested. Probably got his full 8 hours. Mr. No Gray Area himself, Jed Meshew. Hello, Jed.
Hey, Mike. Doing great. Coming off a big dub, right for a great website. Everything's great. Talking about a okay card. It's a great day.
And of course, Casey the Robot lied in on the ones and twos. Shout out to him. We'll hear from him a little bit later on. But AK, UFC Paris, quality main event between Ciryl Gane and Tai Tuivasa. There's a lot on the line there. Co-main event is a great fight. One that's kind of flying under the radar, for being honest, between Robert Whittaker and Marvin Vettori. Some good scraps mixed in across the slate. Some local flair for the Paris and French MMA fans. Do we have a patented AK Lee gymnastics scale score for this card? And do we have a poll?
Oh, no, we have neither. I'll set a poll after I do my bit. It's funny. I was looking at the card. I was giving it a deep look this morning, but more for like fact checking and kind of getting some background on some of these fighters who, I'll be honest, I'm not super familiar with. Though I guess on the basis of that, you can kind of make your own score. It definitely does not. It's below an 8. It's below an 8.0. As much as I really love the main event, I'm really excited for the co-main, as you mentioned, and I think most people are too. But the rest of the card, it's slim pickings, I would say, as far as like more casual. Like, what's a good hook for the casual viewer? I don't know. Well, again, we'll get into it. There are definitely some good ones. This has to be though closer to like a 7.5, 7.4 on the gymnastics scale, and that's like if everything goes right and we get some big surprises. You can always, you never know. You can always use it's the cards that we doubt and that we kind of like criticize beforehand that always deliver. Yeah, fine. I don't know. Maybe that happens. But just being objective, just looking at some of the names who people may know, or in this case, may definitely not know, 7.4, 7.5, or 7.4, 7.5. There we go.
Well done. We are just amazing stuff. This is why you come here
He's
for this
Canadian.
preview show. So, Jed, yes, he sure is. Jed, Ciryl Gane returns. He gets to fight in front of his home crowd. First fight since the loss to Francis Ngannou. Takes on the surging Tai Tuivasa, who has become quite the underdog story and quite the popular fighter on top of that. Currently, our friends at DraftKings has the line, Ciryl Gane, massive favorite, up to minus 580. Comeback on Tai Tuivasa, plus 440. Now, Jed, you have a great podcast with Connor Burks, No Bets Barred. And while many, even on Heck of a Morning this morning, people are like, this line is crazy. They're scoffing at this line. They're scoffing at it in a certain way. You are also scoffing at it, but probably not in the same way everybody else is. Is that accurate?
Oh, super. I am astonished that this line has stayed as low as it has. I'm going out on a big limb, and maybe I will look like a big old idiot. That's totally possible. I almost happened to Valentina Shevchenko earlier this year. But I don't know how Tai Tuivasa wins this fight. Like, I just genuinely don't know it. I said it on No Bets Bar. I said yesterday on Between the Links, also a great program. Make sure you check that out. I wrote it in the gambling column preview that will rise today. Here are just the facts, man. I don't know how else to put this, but clean facts for you. Ciryl Gane has lost 0% of a fight in which he was standing. He has won every single minute of every fight he has been standing in. You go look at his record, he blanked all of his opponents who didn't take him down. He was tuning Francis Ngannou up on the feet. Granted, Ngannou had the blown knee or whatever, but he was taking Ngannou to school. He's the bus driver. Hey, load on up. I'm going to take you to school. I'm going to teach you how to kickbox because that's a thing I can do better than anybody else in the heavyweight division. And he lost when he got taken down. And that's it. And unless Tai Tuivasa has been working on his D1 wrestling skills or whatever, he's just going to do the same. He is nothing different that Ciryl Gane hasn't faced. I love Tai Tuivasa. I hate this fight because I think it's way more fun to keep Tai as a fun guy. But what's he going to do? Charge forward and punch Ciryl Gane in the face? He's sure not going to do that because no one else has been able to do that. And it's not like Tai's a better athlete than Francis Ngannou. Like, he just doesn't have the tools to make anything happen. I think, like, straight up, Gane should be a minus 1,000 favorite in this fight. Like, it's such a good matchup for him.
AK, do you agree with that? I know after appearing on No Bets Barred, great podcast, that you've sort of tapped into the pony playing side of the Prince of Positivity. So now that you are not, I mean, you're not a big one, but you have dabbled a little bit more than you have in the past. So
The Prince
do you agree
of
with Jed?
Bets, baby. Let's go.
That's right. Do you agree with Jed that this line should actually be higher in favor of Ciryl Gane?
What's it at now? Like about plus 600 for plus 600 Gane, eh? Plus 550.
Minus-
plus 600.
minus 580.
I'm sorry,
Gane.
minus. Excuse me,
Yeah.
minus 5. It could be higher, sure, but I think, as most people know, I am much more optimistic that something absolutely crazy would happen. Now, Jed is objectively right. Like, I just don't know how you break this fight down and how you based on what we know about Tai Tuivasa, based on what we know about Ciryl Gane. If we expect a bounce back performance from Ciryl Gane, which I mean, by all accounts, you should. It's hard to say. He's never lost before, but doesn't seem like the guy who's going to just relax after taking a tough championship loss like that. But I have been really pushing the Tai Tuivasa train for a while. So maybe people should not trust my judgment on this. And I would certainly say do not gamble on this long shot. But so many stranger things have happened in heavyweight. And yes, a very, very, very strange thing would have to happen for Tai Tuivasa to beat Ciryl Gane. I understand that, but I just feel it. I feel there's something. I really have been. I think when Tai knocked out Derek Lewis, we had quite a bit of discussion over, man, is he really a top 3 like heavyweight? Does he take Derek Lewis's spot? And I think eventually, if you look at our rankings, we kind of decided, no, most of us decided bump Derek Lewis down and then kind of give Tai a top 5 spot, but not no higher than that. But I think I put him at 4. I think I might have him as high as anyone, and I stand by it. I just don't see why this run can't continue for him. Even looking at their skill sets, even looking at the matchup, great matchup for Ciryl, terrible matchup for Tai Tuivasa. I get it. But I'm expecting. I just think he's going to bring maybe not something that Ciryl hasn't seen before, but just in a way he's going to bring an approach, a style, an attitude that maybe Ciryl hasn't seen before. Because I don't know if anyone has this kind of weird, laid back, brash confidence that Tuivasa has right now, and that could be to his detriment. But I am leaning towards it being to his benefit.
I've definitely never once thought of Derek Lewis as a laid back, confident dude.
He's not that confident, I don't think. He's laid back.
We'll agree to disagree on that.
I mean, he doesn't not in the same way that Tai is. Not in the same way that Tai is. Tai now is saying all the right things about like, oh, I want to be a champion and all that stuff, and I believe it. Like I don't. Derek Lewis never really had that moment. It's so reluctant. It's so reluctant, and he got 2 title fights. And both times there's kind of that reluctance to jump in and say, yes, I am the best heavyweight in the world. Yes, I am going to do this. Like, I don't think Derek Lewis ever really embraced that. I think there's a slight difference with Tai. I do feel like Tai really genuinely believes that he could be the UFC heavyweight champion. I don't know if I think that's one hurdle Derek Lewis never quite got over.
Maybe.
Yeah, they both have, I mean, it's not equal, but they both have this sort of confident indifference to them. Derek's more on the indifferent side, while Tai is a little more on the confident, I want to be the best in the world side. Derek Lewis was never really like that. It's just like, give me my money and let me do my damn thing. But Jed, we'll get your official pick in a moment. I think we know where you're leaning, but we'll dive into more specifics there. We got your side of the stakes on BTL, so I'll go to AK, and I know Jed disagrees with this, but I want to get your take on this, AK. I feel like the lion's share of the pressure here is on Ciryl Gane. He just lost to the champion in his last fight. The division is sort of in shambles in the aftermath of that fight because of Ngannou's future being unknown, not just because of the knee injury, but because of the contract status. There's the unknown surrounding John Jones and Stipe Miocic. There's Curtis Blades, and I know that was a tough way to win, but he is coming off of a win in the books against Tommy Aspinall. So taking a back step right now for Ciryl Gane is very, very bad. And for Tai, to kind of build upon the point, the guy's very popular. He's fan-friendly. He is a fresh matchup for the champion and a lot of other guys in the top 5 right now. And everybody loves the Cinderella story. So if Gane wins, yes, it's a setback for Tai. Gane will probably fight Blades, but I think this is a loss here is something Tuivasa can come back from. And if he wins, good Lord. But if Gane loses again tomorrow, that's 2 straight. This one would be in front of a home crowd. I think this sets him back quite a ways. What are your thoughts on the pressures and the stakes here for both guys?
Yeah, listen, I said a lot about Tai's mindset. I didn't speak too much about Ciryl, but I actually do think Ciryl is pretty solid mentally. Again, I think he's one of the better personalities in MMA, not just the heavyweight. He's definitely not like a lot of fighters. I think he carries himself in a unique way. I think he has kind of a quirky sense of humor, and I like that about him. And again, those are things that I consider to be a plus, especially if we're talking about how you deal with a loss, how you deal with coming off a championship opportunity that on paper a lot of people thought was very winnable for you. And then losing it in such an unexpected way, being out wrestled. So yeah, listen, that stuff is tough, but that stuff is also very solvable. It's fixable. He can look. There's so many things he can look at in that Francis Ngannou fight and be like, wow, this is really what went wrong here. It's not a mystery. After the fight is over, it's not a mystery what happened. We know where the weaknesses were. Now, is that going to play in here? I mean, like we said, probably not. Tuivasa is not turning to D1 Tai and shooting him for a lot of takedowns. I don't imagine. And if he does, I don't know if he could do it with the effectiveness of Francis Ngannou. But just the idea of having to, just the feeling of losing, of having had a weakness exposed, I think will be very good for Ciryl. So he doesn't really strike me, even with the pressure of fighting in Paris, headlining the first UFC event in this city. I think he's the kind of guy that's going to thrive off of it for sure. And I think win or lose, I don't think it's gonna ruin him. I think it'll hurt for sure. 2 straight, of course, once you get to this level, very tough. And then losing in front of your home crowd, even tougher. But like I said, he has a demeanor that I think he loses 2 straight. Yeah, he takes a step back from the division. But for me, does not rule him out at all of battling back into contention. In fact, I might go as far as to say, I know you just made a strong point for Tai, how Tai could fight his way back. But I might disagree with my best friend and say that I actually think if Tai loses, this might be his last. I don't want to say his last. It is heavyweight, but it'll be tough for him to sort of get back to this level he's reached. He's on a hell of a streak right now. It'll be really difficult to replicate that again. Gane, I think his skill set is just so good. He could find a way back easier.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you're both not wrong about that, but we don't live in the world of meritocracy here in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. We live in a world where the best fight, not even the best fight, but the fight that makes the most money makes the most sense, more so than who deserves what, so forth and so on. We've talked about it many times, and we will continue to talk about that. But anything you want to add to that, Jed, that AK didn't say?
Just, I think we're overestimating how big of a star Tai Tuivasa is. Not that he's not. He's certainly, people like Tai, but I think that being a star probably matters less at heavyweight, just from the UFC's perspective. They sort of seem to view heavyweights naturally as more important. I think that's, old combat sports world taking over there. But I'm with I said it yesterday on BTL. I thought we all agreed, which is the thing. This narrative has changed in the last 3 months. I thought we all agreed when we beat Derek Lewis. So oh, dude, he's the top 3. There's no way he's actually a top 3 guy, but this is really fun. Let's keep this going. As soon as he loses, the oasis vanishes, the mirage disappears. Ciryl Gane is legitimately good. Like he's like legitimately one of the best heavyweights in the world and will be for some time. Tai Tuivasa is at a streak right now, and when clock strike midnight, like that's it. The pumpkin doesn't turn back into a carriage. So the pressure is on him, except for Ty doesn't care about the pressure. So it just is what it is. This is a fight that's good and matters. I don't think either dude is coming in with a lot of built up anxiety about it. But if there's pressure somewhere here, yeah, I think it's absolutely on Ty.
Well, I guess it's being New York Rick versus Jed and AK, and that's fine. This is why we have these preview shows. But I think we're all in agreement that after the win over Derek Lewis, Tai Tuivasa should have just been thrown into some sort of interim title fight immediately. And if he wins this fight on tomorrow, his next fight has to be for the title, whether it's interim or not, depending on how this all shapes out. But if Tai Tuivasa beats Ciryl Gane, his next fight has to be for the title.
Should have been Ty versus Tommy Aspinall. Like that was the fight. If he has to fight somebody that's not going to be for a belt, instead of Ciryl Gane, Tommy Aspinall, because then you're at least boosting Tommy if he gets the dub. And also apparently Tommy Aspinall's knee didn't work, so then Ty would have won that fight, and then he's in a title fight. So that was the fight that should have happened. Giving Ty Ciryl Gane or Curtis Blades were promotional malpractice, and that we ended up with one of those. So it was fun. Yeah. The shoey phase was fun.
So I guess we already know clearly if you've listened for the last 10 minutes where you're going with this pick, but what's like the official pick? Gane via fill in the blank.
I'm officially taking Gane via decision. Ty is really tough. The only question for me is whether Ty decides after losing a couple of rounds, F it, I'm just going to go haywire here, at which point he's really going to open himself up for counters. But I think the most likely thing is we see Gane do Ciryl Gane things and just be way more athletic and be on his bike and hit and not get hit. And Ty have no real answers to that. So I'm officially taking by decision for Ciryl Gane.
AK, what's your official pick here? Are we going with the upset? Are you picking Tai Tuivasa? Is that what it's about to happen?
Oh, of course I am. As Jed, that, and I think Jed had it right, is will Ty go berserk? And I think he will. And I think he'll go berserk in round 2. I think an absolutely frustrating first 5 minutes where he just lands nothing on Ciryl Gane. He kind of tries to fight a smarter fight and just, obviously gets outclassed. And I think I don't think it's going to take that long. I think it's one round of getting embarrassed. And he's like, I'm going for it. I'm going. If I get knocked out, I get knocked out. But I am having faith he's going to put the pressure on this man somehow land a big shot. I don't know if it's, you can call it luck. You can call it again, the benefits of aggression, whatever you want to call it. I have said this for a long time, and so I can't go against it. I have said Tuivasa can knock out Ciryl Gane, and now on this show, Mike, I am saying he will knock out Ciryl Gane in round 2.
Wow. Now, from a betting perspective, and I'm not a bettor. I have been on No Bets Barred, great podcast once before. But there's 2 ways I would go with this if I was actually betting. And I wouldn't money line any of this unless you're parlaying some stuff up. Ciryl Gane by decision is plus 200. I like that a lot. But if you're going to bet on Ty, why not get the most juice possible and just take him by KO, which is plus 650 right now. So some betting advice from a guy who doesn't bet, but I think Jed would agree that both of those lines make more sense than picking these guys straight, right?
Certainly on the Ty. I don't think there's a person alive who thinks Ty's winning a decision. It's KO or bust. So I am honestly super surprised that line's that different. Because he's like plus 440. I would have thought the KO line was maybe plus 500. It should have been very similar. So if it's at plus 6 something, if you're backing Ty in any regard, that would be the way to go. I don't quite agree. I do think a bet on Gane by decision is fine at plus 200. I'm betting the over on this fight at 2.5. I'm also taking a shot on the over 3.5, and I've gone in several parlays. But I said it on No Bets Barred this week. I think actually the best bet you could make on this card is to just put all of the money you would bet on any fight on Ciryl Gane, even at this price. I know the price is high, but whatever you are going to bet, just don't bet the other ones because this feels like such a lock to me. And it's still a real value because, again, I think this line should be minus 1,000. So at minus 580, this is tremendous value from
Jed,
my perspective.
I don't want to tell you how to run No Bet Spar because you and Connor do an amazing job. But shouldn't we have a no heavyweight fights are a lock rule? Isn't that a thing? Isn't that such a thing that no heavyweight fights are a lock? We just saw Romanov and Tabora. Would you not have called that a lock?
No, I didn't think that was a lock. I definitely thought Romanov was going to win, but I didn't think that was a lock. But
I think a lot of people did. I think that's the rule. No, there's no such thing as a heavyweight lock.
No.
There is a heavyweight lock, though. Not officially a lock, but scientific research dictates that there is one sort of heavyweight lock or close to it, right, Jed?
We've almost proven that heavyweight overs always hit. We need a few more tests to confirm, but we know definitively that flyweight unders hit.
I said the opposite of flyweight unders, the inverse rule.
Exactly.
Rule.
So I was interested in scientifically testing the inverse rule, and it has hit a lot lately. So a few more tests, but I'm firmly on the over this week, and a couple more tests, and we'll have that scientifically proven that heavyweight overs never miss.
Wow.
So as far as my pick, I'll make my pick short and sweet.
Grinding.
I think the first 8 minutes of this fight are going to be edge of your seat viewing, but I think Gane is pretty savvy and smart enough to mind his P's and Q's to the effect that this one's just going to get extended. It's going to get out of the second round, and then that's when Gane is really going to pull away here. He's just going to out kickbox Tai Tuivasa down the stretch. I think Tuivasa will make it to the final bell, but I think he loses probably a 50-45 decision here. So, yeah, that's what I think happens. But Tai does have the quote-unquote
no one going Gane by submission. I wanted somebody to feel frisky with it. The man's got a little bit of sub. You got some subs on him.
He legitimately does, yeah.
He does, but he's coming off of a loss, and I think he's just going to fight a smart fight. Like just the smartest fight he can. Just stay away, survive the first 8 minutes of the fight, and just cruise. No need to do anything crazy. So
apparently the listeners to this program do not believe me, because as I'm looking at DraftKings, Ciryl Gane has dropped to minus 540.
Whoa.
So you guys aren't paying attention, because somehow the number's moving more towards Gane, which doesn't make any sense to me.
They love that tie by knockout. It's I guess maybe tie by knockout, and I will say
it may be that somebody was like, oh, tie by knockout's plus 650. That's stupid. So
yeah. Our YouTube poll right now, and I didn't put who wins the main event. I want to phrase it a little differently. Who wins the main event is a little more of like an objective pick. So I want to leave it just like a little more wide open for Tai. So it's just, can Tai Tuivasa beat Ciryl Gane? So it's 66% right now. Yes, but again, that's a very different question than who would you pick to win the fight. It's just like, it means 66% think somehow Tai, can find a way to get a win. But I imagine if it was who would win, I'm pretty sure Ciryl would be. It'd be like at least 50 something percent in his favor. So, but right now, yes, 66%, 1/3 of our people who voted in our poll think that he at least has a chance. That Tai Tuivasa has a chance.
Well, there we go. Let's go to the co-main event. The former middleweight champion Robert Whittaker taking on Marvin Vettori. If you haven't seen it, at the ceremonial weigh-ins, Marvin Vettori hit Robert Whittaker with the fake out handshake, gave him the little Dikembe Mutombo no, and said some things. Whittaker just smirked, and Vettori walks away. Vettori just basically did Vettori things at the ceremonial weigh-ins, but we have a fight between two guys, AK, that are battling it out to be the number 2 middleweight in the world. Both guys have already lost twice to the current champion, Israel Adesanya. What's actually on the line here, AK, outside of the number 2 middleweight spot in the rankings?
I'm one of those people who I always say, when you have, when you're able to just put together what I think is a great matchup like this, I don't want to sweat. I feel like not every fight has to be about title implications, has to be about, how many fights are they away from getting a rematch with Adesanya, because like they're both pretty far. Neither guy's second fight with him was particularly exciting. Let's be honest. Whittaker maybe gave him a little bit of a better challenge, but that fight is sort of part of the current, is he a boring fighter narrative? So that's usually not a good sign, and not something that would make the UFC want to book that one again anytime soon. So I'll be honest. So for me, honestly, I'm just glad this fight is happening. I think it's been postponed, like a couple of times, maybe at least once. But it's definitely one that's been in the works and people have talked about for a while. So I'm glad they were able to keep it together. Sometimes I just want to see two top 5 middleweights fight each other, especially one that I think it's a good style matchup. I think Whittaker, has a takedown defense to not get dominated by Vettori. If Vettori decides to wrestle, I think Vettori has enough striking and certainly size and power that if Whittaker, if it stays on the feet, he's an interesting challenge for Whittaker. I think Whittaker's a more skilled fighter, but I do think he's going to be giving up some legitimate size to Marvin Vettori. So I know this is a boring answer. I know people in the chat, I'm sure they want blood. They want to know again what are these guys fighting for? What they're not getting a title anytime soon. Why is this happening? Sometimes, again, you just want to see high-level middleweights go at it. 2 of the best guys in the division. That, to me, is exciting. But I don't know. Mileage may vary on that for everyone else.
For those who missed BTL, Jed Meshew got a point talking about this fight just based on the description of Marvin Vettori as a fighter and, what's actually going on here. Right now, Robert Whittaker is a -210 favorite. Marvin Vettori comes back at +180. So, Jed, just to reiterate, and I'll let you go off on your thing here. For those watching right now, they're looking for any gambling advice. On our official MMA fighting Tapology picks, since there's no money lines, no nothing, I would assume you're going to go Robert Whittaker. But from a value perspective, based on the current betting lines, I have to say, Marvin Vettori at +180 in this matchup, that's going to look a little enticing, does it not?
You nailed it. In Tapology, I have picked Whittaker by decision, not to give away the game, but that's what it is. But I have a bet down on Marvin Vettori. The number moved a little bit more towards Vettori. It was a little bit higher at +195. It's down to +180. I got it at +195. I won't redo my whole Marvin Vettori thing from yesterday because you can go watch BTL, and frankly, it wouldn't be as good as that rendition of it, which was really from the heart. The short version of it is Marvin Vettori is the middleweightiest middleweight that's ever middleweighted, and that's means he's a really damn good fighter. And so I like Robert Whittaker. I think Robert Whittaker probably is the second best middleweight in the world. And by probably, I mean he has proven it pretty conclusively. But for who the hell knows what Alex Pereira is going to throw awful wrenches in the thing, in the script here. But he's obviously extremely talented, extremely good, puts his game together well. But he hasn't really fought Marvin Vettori before, or a guy of that ilk, where Whittaker can't get Vettori out of there. We can just start there. You can't finish Marvin Vettori. It is not a thing that is doable. He is too big. He is too durable. His cardio is very solid, and he seemingly does not care what he gets hit in the face with. Could be a 2x4, and he's just going to keep plodding his ass forward, putting your back on the fence. That's a really difficult style for a lot of people to match up with. And I know Whittaker's got the karate and the bouncing and the range and stuff. But if he decides he's going to sit down on punches and then he can't get him out of there, what does that look like? I have questions because I said it yesterday. We saw it the other week. You don't have to score takedowns. I don't think Vettori is going to be able to put Whittaker on the mat. Whittaker's an unbelievably good wrestler. But if you can just hold him against the fence, judges seem to like that. Jose Aldo lost to Merab Dvalishvili because he got held. He just got hugged really, really tightly. And that was very difficult. And at the minimum, if that's what this fight is going to look like, if Vettori is the one always coming forward and Whittaker is bouncing around and landing shots that do not hurt him at all, because that's the other thing you have to take into account, right? Damage is subjective. Judges view shots differently. And even if the shot looks like it lands clean, and it does, if Vettori just walks through it because he's impervious to damage, then that will weigh less heavily on the judges' minds. And maybe something weird happens. Maybe Whittaker starts breaking down a little bit under the constant pressure. Maybe the judges just see Vettori holding him and are like, I'll give him some rounds. And a weird splitty happens. I think this fight is close to 60-40, maybe 55-45 Whittaker. I do favor him to win, and I would favor him a lot more over 5 rounds, honestly. 3 rounds, a lot of weirdness can happen in 3 rounds, man. It's a short fight, and Vettori is a really difficult guy in a lot of respects for a lot of people. So I've got a value bet on Whittaker, on Vettori. I do think Whittaker will win. Love an over bet here. Also, just to answer the question you led with AK, what they're fighting for is the presidency of the Alex Pereira fan club, because whoever wins this fight, if Pereira knocks out Izzy, well, they're probably getting the next middleweight title shot. So that is what this is for. The president of the Alex Pereira fan club.
Jed, what are your thoughts about Whittaker talking about the move to 205? Like, he doesn't want to just go up willy-nilly and be, as he said to the fine folks at Submission Radio, he doesn't want to be just like a fat middleweight fighting at 205. He wants to take it seriously and take the time to move up the right way. So let's just say we're probably not going to have a decision. If he goes out, wins this fight, he's probably going to wait till after November 12th to see how that fight between Adesanya and Pereira plays out before he makes his official decision. But let's just say Adesanya goes in there, beats Pereira, we move on from that feud. Do you like the idea of Whittaker going to 205, or do you think he should stay where he's at?
I don't know. It's something I really never envisioned. I know he used to talk about it before he lost the belt to Izzy, that like that would have been a thing for him. But something he feels far too small. He's a former welterweight, and it seems like he's too big to go to welterweight legitimately. But even if he's going to go, doing it like he said, putting on the size is probably a better idea. But I still just don't. I mean, he, in that same interview, acknowledged, even doing this correctly, I don't like some of the pretty clear disadvantages I will have. They will all be bigger than me, even if I add weight. And that will bring challenges. And I think that's true. I think the truth is he's a middleweight. And if he wants to Rich Franklin it, and just be the second best middleweight in the world and take fights at 195 or do kind of that thing. Because 205 sucks ass. Like, he could beat a lot of top 15 light heavyweights now. It's a terrible division. He's a really good fighter. But I think he's just a middleweight. This is where his best work's going to be done. And I'd rather him do Rich Franklin and maybe take a one-off 195 or some catch weights against some other, aging big names or whatever, than move up to a division where he'll have success, but I don't think he'll be a legitimate title threat.
AK, who are you picking? Are we going with Bobby Nux, or are we going with the durable, block-headed Marvin Vettori?
The Reaper, by the way, his real nickname. The Reaper by knockout. By knockout. He's going to knock him out. He's going to catch him. He's going to be the first guy to finish Marvin Vettori. Third round. Entertaining first 2 rounds. We get some of that, not quite that Costa Vettori brawl, which was hilarious and awesome. It's definitely not going to go that way, but I think it is going to spend a lot of time on the feet. I think Whittaker will be able to keep his back off the cage, and I think he's going to catch Vettori with something in the third and surprise and just shock everyone. Vettori will just be like, what the F happened? So I'm going to go, long shot, total random long shot pick. This is the mood I'm in, guys. For anyone who didn't tune in, who's just tuning in now, I'm going Tuivasa second round knockout. I'm going Whittaker third round knockout. And for anyone else, hell no, I'm not putting money on either of these wagers. So you shouldn't either. But I mean, just for the fun thing to say and what would be like the most interesting and exciting outcome. Yeah.
Okay. Jed's face changed multiple times, and I'm curious as to why.
I don't know, man. I mean, if it happens, cool. But then a week later, when Robert Whittaker is suspended because he loaded his gloves with adamantium before he swung on him, it just ain't. That's not even
better
for me.
Even better.
If there are 2 things I feel unbelievably confident on in this card, it's that Ciryl Gane is winning, and it's that this fight is going to a decision. I will be stunned if outside of a freak injury either way. If a Tommy Aspinall thing, knock on wood, happens, that happens. But I cannot envision a world where Robert Whittaker is the dude who's able to put Marvin Vettori out. But I will say this. AK's card is going to be way more fun than mine. I think I'm picking like 10 decisions on this thing. So root for AK's outcomes because it will be a far more entertaining card.
I like where you're coming from. I'm going Whittaker decision. It's not much more I could add to Jed's breakdown of the fight. I just think Vettori's durability, the fact that he pushes the pace so much that he can push the action against the fence and he could probably score points over there in this kind of a fight. I think it's competitive. But I think at the end, we're not going to have really a lot of doubts in our mind. We're going to feel like, all right, Whittaker won, but it's not going to be like a fight of the night kind of a fight. I think it's just going to be like a really interesting fight to watch between one skill set and then just another skill set and the durability behind it as the landscapers have arrived. It's typical preview show stuff, no matter what time we do it. That's what happens. So we'll move on to you, AK. What is the low-key banger? Like, I know there's some obvious ones out there, but what's the fight that's just not getting enough love in your eyes?
I mean, the one on the main card, listen, I want to show love to my Canadian boy, Charles Jourdain, Nathaniel Wood, and both of them, by the way, stepping up on like relatively short notice. I think they've both fought within the last 2 months. So very smart. Hey, both of them want to stay busy. Great. It's a competitive division. Get in there. Charles Jourdain, French Canadian, gets to compete in France. That'd be, obviously that's a lovely thing to do. But I mean, I have to ask, like, I'm bringing this fight up just to ask, why is Nassourdine Imavov and Joaquin Buckley on the prelims? And with respect to William Gomez, to William Gomez and Jarno Aarons, why did they
screw
get
that?
I don't understand.
Screw that. I'm fine with William Gomez being on there because he's French. What in the name of God is Alessio Di Chirico and Roman Kopylov doing the third fight from the top?
Yeah, and it's middleweight.
Kopylov hasn't won a fight in the UFC, and Di Chirico is not good. I don't know what the hell the matchmakers did here.
And it's not even, and for anyone who doesn't know, I'm sure everyone does know, like Nassourdine Imavov fights out of France.
Good.
He's ranked he's a top 15.
Yeah, he's a good French fighter
in our rankings. He's a sleeper to someday fight for a title. They're not even the featured prelim, at least not from what I saw on the schedule. So
it makes no sense.
Very confusing. This is one of the most confusing card placements I've seen. So it is a low key banger just by definition because it's weird on a very strange spot on the ESPN Plus prelims. Again, I guess the whole card's in ESPN Plus, so maybe it's not that big of a deal where fighters are, but it does look strange when you look at a lineup. And if billing matters to you, that as Jed said, there's a middleweight bout between Di Chirico and Kopylov, so fight in the same division, and then a very random bout between newcomers.
They're both bad.
And then newcomers William Gomez and Jarno Aarons. Yes, William Gomez.
I'm fine with Gomez. Gomez is French. So that makes
but why
sense.
why him instead of Imavov? Imavov also fights out of France. So like, why?
Because Erno's Dutch and their flag is very similar to the French flag. Like it's just turned. Like I'm at least fine with you putting a French fighter on the main. There's no excuse for Alessio Di Chirico to be on this main card. Like there's zero. Makes no sense. So
this is confusing. It's very.
This is a boardroom conversation where it's like, let's just put this fight there so we can get butts in the seats early because it's our first time here. That's probably what they're thinking. It still doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense when you could just do the same thing with some other fights. But be that as it may, that's a good pick.
Just put Benoit Saint-Denis as the opener. There you go. People are there. Because I think that's a fine idea, but like, it's just dumb. It's just dumb.
Yeah. What's your low-key banger, Jed?
I mean, that is probably by definition the low-key banger, just because, I mean, we've got a good guy going up against. Look, no one's talking about it. I don't want to be the guy, but nobody's saying anything about it. How many losses does Joaquin Buckley have since he started training the Detroit Urban Survival Tactic Systems, whatever? How many? Zero. He hasn't lost since Commander Dale brought him under his wing and showed him the way. And so I have questions. I'm interested. That's to me probably the actual best fight on the whole card. Like if you're just for excitement, it's Jourdain. Jourdain Nathaniel Wood is going to be anarchy. That fight rules. But since it's a main card, that's probably not it. But if we want something different, give me Benoit Saint-Denis. Lightweights, love lightweights. Gabriel Miranda is kind of a fun fighter. He is the first, I believe he is the first French fighter on the card. So we'll get the crowd going, get everybody up. Fight's going to be pretty fun. So not a ton of bangers low key here in my humble opinion.
I think Hackbarast McDessie will be fun. There's a little heat on that one, so that'll be a good one.
That's a really fun fight.
Yeah, and I can't consider Jourdain Wood a low key banger because that fight's being talked about more than the freaking co-main event in a lot of ways. In terms of fights people are looking forward to. So
the co-main event will not be fun. So it will be Marvin Vettori is not a fun fighter. He's just never been one. So
The fight with Costa. The fight with Costa was great.
that's true, but
That's
Paulo
more the Costa factor. Yeah, Costa
yeah,
might
that's
be a
more
guy who,
that
like,
Paulo Costa
yeah,
has almost never not been fun.
yeah, he's very reliably chaotic
It's-
for sure.
Yeah, he is chaotic good. So, yeah,
Yes.
I get people talking about Jordan Wood. That fight rules.
That's a great fight. All right, let's go to the peeps. We'll take a few questions.
Oh, by the way, I asked in the second poll,
Hello,
do you want
Casey.
to see Robert Whittaker fight at light heavyweight? 63% no. So not a lot of interest there right now. But just from our YouTube poll.
Because he's not a big middleweight, so it's hard to be like, yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
Let's go up to 205.
Yeah, I'm with the majority on this one.
All right.
Let me pull up the rankings. Who could he beat at 205 right now?
I could see him beating out Paul Craig.
Oh well, that was the first guy I saw on the list. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, he could definitely beat Paul
I
Craig.
could see that.
Could
Paul
definitely
Craig
beat
just
Paul
taking
Craig.
strays in Scotland, grooming his
All right,
beard
Paul
right
Craig,
now.
right.
Like,
It's not
I mean,
personal.
he can beat Krylov.
He could beat Thiago Santos.
Definitely.
Well,
I could see that.
Thiago Santos should be in no one's top 15.
well, Santos, the former
He's
middleweight,
number
too.
9. He's number 9 in the UFC rankings.
I know.
It's
Thiago
12
Santos,
and 12 in ours.
And you are correct, Casey. Former middleweight. That's the thing. Like, several top light heavyweights are former middleweights.
Yeah.
Robert
Yeah,
Whittaker versus Anthony Smith. Who would you pick?
Whittaker.
Wow.
Well, see, that's not that. That means
I've never
pretty
respected Anthony Smith as a fighter.
This is true.
You're never going to make me do it. And I know that it's probably because his name is Anthony Smith and he looks like a creative fighter on a UFC video game. But that's just I can't do it. Also, part of it is that he was such a non-entity at middleweight and then moved up to a bad division and became good. It was like he probably still just isn't good. 205 is just bad.
which means he's a genius.
No, I mean, no. That dude has done far more than I ever would have imagined with his career. I have nothing but respect for him for his career decisions. I just refuse to think he's a good fighter. Probably I'm wrong. I'm probably wrong. I just refuse to do it.
If actually the Whittaker going to 205 thing I thought was really dumb. But you're kind of changing my mind now. If Whittaker loses tomorrow, which I think he could lose.
Oh, if he loses tomorrow, definitely move up because then you have nothing else to do.
That's what I mean. If he loses tomorrow, especially if he just gets pressed against the cage or something by Vettori for 2 rounds or whatever, like you said, you beat Thiago Santos, which we all think that Robert Whittaker would beat at 205. He would be a top 10 205er, which pretty much means he's 1 win away from getting a title shot, which is much closer to gold at 205 than he would be at 85. Even if it wins tomorrow.
They would not slow roll him either. They would give him. They would give him somewhat favorable matchups on the way up to a title fight, more than likely.
Here's a hot take for you. I am more willing to believe that Robert Whittaker could beat Yuri Prochazka than I am that Tai Tuivasa can beat Ciryl Gane.
Fair enough.
Like, far more willing to believe that Robert Whittaker could beat Yuri or Ankalaev than Tuivasa can beat Gane.
For as defensively sound Gane is, yeah, I get that. Yeah. I get that. That makes sense.
I like it. I like the fact that you cracked your knuckles before you made the tape.
I haven't fired a real good one down the middle, but it was a solid 95 mile an hour.
That was a good one. There's no Greg Maddux there. If Jed can come back after his giant loss to BC, then of course Gane can come back after his loss to Francis.
We all know what happened.
Yeah, but Jed doesn't feel like that was a giant loss. He feels like it was a giant win.
We all saw what happened. I'm just here to say it. I mean, it's the same. Drake beat me several times too. We watched the tape. Yeah, we all watched the tape.
Thank you.
This
David.
is something I'm surprised we didn't talk about at all. I'm gonna throw this out there.
Papa Bless, will there be a takedown shot, a single takedown shot in the Ciryl Gane Tai Tuivasa fight? Jed, you go first.
I would take the over half bet. We talked about a little on No Bets Barred. I think that there's a world where they just get weirdly entangled and then Gane, maybe not a shot takedown, but Gane finds his way to a back body lock or something and goes for a trip, which is, a takedown attempt. Maybe if we're just talking power double through the middle, no, I don't think that will happen. But I do think there might be a little bit of grappling just from how the fight plays out.
AK, I'm going to set the line at 1.5.
I would say 0.5. I would definitely go over. I mean, you could easily get a panic shot in there somewhere, right? Someone gets rocked and just out of instinct they shoot in, which I would count as a takedown attempt. 1.5. Well, I'm predicting the fight to end in the second round, so I would have to go under then. Like I said, there might be one panic shot in there, but that's about as far as it would go. So I would go under. I don't think you'd see more than one.
I think I'm going the over 1.5, but it won't be like I'm shooting just so I can get a takedown kind of a shot. I think Ciryl will do both of them, but just to kind of like mix things up a little bit and give Tai a different look, perhaps. Maybe
mixed martial arts
at one point.
If he just gets Tai on the ground, he's winning that entire round. Like if he comes in to be D1 Ciryl, he's going to win that round, which would be funny.
So I think there'll be a couple. I don't think this is going to be Ciryl Gane turning into Marab and shooting 22 takedown attempts or anything like that. But I definitely think he'll throw a couple. Casey,
I definitely think there'll be takedowns. But what happens if D1 Tai shows up?
It would be awesome. I would love it. God, it would be great.
Isn't that the smartest? I mean, we just saw.
I don't think it's the smartest plan, but it would be great.
It'd be awesome.
Do we believe Gane has improved since the Francis fight on the ground?
Probably.
Yeah. Had to have. Yeah.
Are we just under that assumption?
Assuming.
I mean,
this is a big assumption.
That's total. It's a total guess, but yes.
Yeah.
I mean, his coach was on the MMA Hour and basically said like we are going to work on defensive wrestling repeatedly for the next few years. Essentially,
it's also less about if Gane has improved defensively than it is like can Tai wrestle? Is Tai like I have no belief that Tai Tuivasa is like a good wrestler and like who was the dude who did it? I'm blanking on this. I'm gonna come up with this in a minute. It's Thiago Santos. I don't know why I was blanking on it. D1 Thiago Santos came out and it worked for like 2 rounds, and then it was like, this isn't a thing that I do, and so now I'm just gassed out and dead, and I can't fight anymore. So like, if this was a 3-round fight, D1 Tai I think would be a hilariously and good strategy. But if he wrestles Gane for the first 2 rounds, he is going to have no fuel left, and then he's just a sitting duck.
I'm just wondering what's to prevent this fight from being Francis versus Gane again in terms of the wrestling. Is it just Francis is a much better athlete? I think
Francis is a better athlete, and we've seen Francis do some wrestling before, not a lot, but he has done some of that before. Because like that was at least certainly wasn't a thing that I thought would happen, but like it was in the realm of possibilities. Maybe he scores a takedown. Not like this will be the focal point of my game plan for the last 3 rounds,
and I would genuinely believe that Gane's team that was low on their list of priorities. Obviously, it shouldn't be. In a world title fight, you probably should be like. Actually, no, it doesn't make sense. You know who Francis Ngannou is in a title fight. For that specific opponent, it would make no sense if you tried to emphasize everything equally. I mean, that would be just as bad. You would have to have a game
get
plan.
Hit by the big punch.
Yeah, right. So that's why the wrestling was so effective. I mean, definitely was not something that Gane was prepared for. None of us were prepared for.
But wouldn't the same logic apply to Tai? Game planning for Tai?
Well, no, only because of what happened last time. Which is to say, like, I still think it'd be like 70-30 emphasis on striking, but there's definitely probably more of an emphasis on wrestling and takedown defense than he's ever had in any of his camps, just because of what happened in his last fight.
It's an interesting thought. I also just don't. Francis Ngannou is Francis Ngannou, and it's like I think that if Tai Tuivasa lands a really big shot, Ciryl Gane will not die. Like he will not be cool because he got hit by a big punch, but I think it is a whole different like. I would like to not get hit by this dude because that's a bad strategy. But it is not the end of the world if he finds some success on the feet. Whereas with Francis, it's like, if he touches me, I may in fact implode, like just like a dying star. So I can't do that at all. And which honestly means Francis Ngannou should probably exclusively wrestle because that makes him impossible to fight. It's like, I can't stand up with this dude and he's on my hips all the time. This sucks. But it'd be really fun. Be super interesting. I like where your head's at, Casey.
Yeah, I mean, I don't believe it, but I just think, I mean, it's the conversation should be there. I mean, that's how he lost his last fight. I mean, I'm with you. I think Gane, arguably, maybe, although he's not the champ, but he might be the best heavyweight in the world. But also, we don't know either if he really has a good ground game or he can get off his back. We just, once you get him down there, I don't know.
I think we know he can't. Until proven otherwise, I think we can assume he can't get off his back because he had some success on the ground, but he did not get off his back consistently against Ngannou. And Ngannou's not.
And a guy with one knee,
an ADCC grappler.
Yeah.
One knee, and he's not an ADCC grappler.
Yeah,
like it's not a.
It's interesting.
It would be very fun.
If Tai Tuivasa shoots like a Danny Sabs takedown, just shoots her across the cage and takes him down in the first 30 seconds, I will scream.
Give him something to think about.
I will stand up and applaud.
AK, cover your ears. Mix the martial arts.
All right. Let me find some more questions.
Take a couple more. Focus on this card. We have our People's Pre-Fight show coming up tomorrow. We can mix in some other stuff there. Just knocked my headphones out. How much does Tai have to cut? He's 266 on the nose this morning, so.
Mm-hmm. So we expect him to be a little heavier tomorrow for the fight.
Yep.
Is this gonna be a factor?
Was he talking to Ariel about this? Or
He did.
Was this
He did. He mentioned
else? Was it like he walked at like
it was worse
275?
before. Yeah, it was worse in the past. I think he's gotten a bit more under control now, but he still acknowledges like, yeah, I'm a big boy. I get big in between fights. I am one of the heavyweights that has to cut down. He came in, for anyone who missed it, 266. So use that 1 pound allowance. Came in 266. Ciryl Gane, third fight in a row, 247. That's his sweet spot. I think the one fight before that, like 245. So Ciryl Gane, he's got his body down like clockwork. It's 245, 247 in that range every time. And he's always going to be, quote unquote, giving up pounds, but he's not really giving up pounds to some of these guys. I mean, as far as effective poundages, the dude's in incredible shape. He's tall. He's
effective pounds.
Yeah, effective poundage.
He's giving up effective pounds when Ngannou was on top of him in rounds 3, 4, and 5.
Well, listen, when Ngannou has a lot of effective poundage. Let's just put it that way. I mean, when that dude comes at 265, I mean that's 265.
Just clip that, please. Somebody just clip. Ngannou has a lot of effective poundage.
Nothing's being wasted with him. So. So yeah, it is always weird to say like, oh, he's outweighed by 20 pounds. Like even if they are like relatively around the same weight when they step into the cage, it's not that big of a deal. He's taller than Tai. He's taller than a lot of the guys he fights. So I mean, it's weird. It's weird to say he weighs less, but he looks bigger. Like when he steps in the cage, most of these guys he looks bigger. So make of that what you will. I don't think the weight cut is a big deal for
he
for
looks
Tai
like he has hit the gym a lot, and Tai Tuivasa
he's been there.
Does not.
Yeah, he's been there a few times.
Ciryl Gane is aware of what a weight rack looks like.
He knows his way to it. Yeah, he's familiar.
Yeah, I see him at Planet Fitness all the time. Yeah.
Yes.
What else we got?
We're kind of
good.
Kinda low on questions.
It would be kind of awesome.
Yeah, it's all right. No, listen. I think that's accurate. This is I think we've given this card its due, but as far as like sort of like I said, this casual intrigue, long-term like impact that some of these fights may have, and who knows? Maybe William Gomez or Jarno Aaron's is a future 145-pound champion. We don't know. That's what's exciting about these cards, right? Is sometimes you don't know someone. They could be tomorrow's stars, tomorrow's headline grabbers. But at a glance, I think we've said all we can outside of without making outlandish predictions for some of the people on this card. And frankly, I've already made 2 outlandish predictions for 2 of the fighters in this card. So people, if I'm right, we'll be seeing Tuivasa and Whittaker knockout wins.
I will say, this card, it's a fine card. I think, AK, you gave it a 7 something, which is, I think, about right. Because it gets a little boost being the first one in France. If this card still had Manon Fiorot versus Caitlin Chookagian or Jessica Andrade, whichever one of those, and Cedric Doumbé, this card would be rocketed up into the high 8s with those.
I forgot about the Doumbé. I forgot about Doumbé. Yeah.
Like
you were producing BTL. You didn't remember New York?
Yeah.
No, I remember it. Then it hurt, and I was like, repressed memories. I was like,
yes.
Oh, it's all coming back now.
there are like 6 good fights on this card, and the rest is whatever, varying levels of okay. If you add essentially a flyweight title eliminator to this,
Oh God,
plus Doumbé, like this card becomes
change
awesome.
the bout order a bit. Yeah, main event, co-main event's great. Get rid of Jericho, put Andrade Faro, then put Cedric Doumbé, and then move up Imavov and Buckley. Dude, that main card will be sick. Like, yeah,
if you had
I'm so excited. I'm cursing
fights,
now.
yeah, if you had those 2 fights, then you could just put Imavov Buckley as the prelim main event, and
that would make sense. Then, yeah.
Card would be so good with those two things that fell off it.
Hey, so the UFC tried. They tried.
They did.
They did try to put a great card together, and just things happen. But,
I'm not blaming them on this one, especially because it's still a perfectly fine card, but it had a chance to really be special, and because of that's how the fight game works, a couple of pretty key fights fell off.
And it's a daytime card.
It is.
Yes, I was just gonna say I'm bumping it up to a 7.9 because of what you just said, Casey.
Yeah.
We glossed over the fact that it's early day MMA. The prelims start at noon Eastern, and then the main card's at I believe 3 p.m. Eastern. This is perfect. Now I know for the Jed Meshews and GCs of the world, and for the southern college folk, it's a little bit of a tough hang because college football officially, like the real stuff, really kicks off on Saturday. So we're kind of competing. But for people like me who grew up in Massachusetts who don't give a damn about that, let's go. I love everything about this in terms of the start times and everything else. And with that being said, we're being played off. AK's dancing away. Jed's swaying, Casey's swaying, and I'm wrapping us up. Now I have to put the explicit tag on the podcast because Casey had to curse. So
I know, yeah.
Thank you very much for me having to click an extra button. Back here tomorrow.
So much extra work for you, Mike.
11:30 a.m. Eastern, baby, for the People's Pre-Fight Show. Get your coffee, get your croissant, your crepes ready to go, and we will see you then. But for AK, for Jed, for Casey Leiden, I am Mike Heck. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody.
Love you guys, and go Dogs.